Been on this show for years, TJ Houshmandzadeh. Often the stuff he tells us before he goes on the air is as good and as juicy and informative as off-the-air stuff. So, it's interesting. We were talking about Joe Burrow had the injury. Thank God he's fine. You know Burrow. You've trained Burrow. You've been around him. It is interesting. Years ago, Sean McVay said, I'm not playing any of my starters in preseason. I know McVay's belief has always been, get the pads off these guys. Veteran players know it. There's nothing here they're going to learn. Where do you fall on star quarterback, star receiver, star edge rusher, star corner, practice load, preseason load? I'm not blaming the Bengals on practice load. You have to play. But it does feel like, TJ, there's been a little bit of a sea change since McVay came in the league. And what are we doing here?
It's actually smart. Guys work so hard in the offseason. They might take 2-3 weeks off, maybe. And when they're doing that, they're probably getting up, stretching each day, mobility type. Guys are training year-round, so they're not coming into training camp having to get in shape. These guys are in shape. You just want to maintain it. And when you look at what happened with Joe specifically, he had already had a sleeve on his right calf. If you look at it, he has a sleeve on his right calf. And so he never wears a sleeve on his right calf, so that showed me
they knew
something was already bothering him. And I texted him, bro, please tell me you're all right. He was like, I'm good. And so that sleeve showed me it was tight. It was already bothering him. They could have erred on the side of caution. He'll probably miss 2 to 3 weeks. He'll be ready to go for the regular season, but that's going to bother him or be there at least the first quarter of the season.
So J-Mac and I had a disagreement. I think it was the end of the first hour. I think Stefon Diggs is more Randy Moss, not physically. In terms of Randy will lock in for 2 or 3 years, then he'll chirp, and then maybe it's time to move off. It's not a Dez Bryant situation where day one in Dallas, they had to hire security detail. It felt like it was constant massaging and making it work, and he was very productive. Stefon Diggs, to me, is a guy that after about 3 years in Minnie, 4 years, 3 years in Buffalo, Randy had this sort of thing, is that, he would tire of this, you would tire of that. I look at this whole Buffalo situation as I'm seeing little drip warning signs. Receivers have a history of this. I was saying during the break, you're a very mature guy. You're different than most receivers. It's a very emotional position. First to break the huddle. It's got an NBA feel to it. Get me the ball. I get it. What would you do with Stefon Diggs? We've seen a little discomfort. Does it worry you? How much would you allow?
It does worry me because that playoff game was, I believe, January 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. January. Minicamp was mid-June. That's 6 months. That's 6 months. Me personally, February, March, April, May, I'm going to call Josh. Or I'm going to go see Josh within those 6 months, because if I'm still angry about something that happened in a playoff game in January, that must really be bothering me. Why can't I just reach out to him and handle it? They can say, oh, it's not a big deal. It was a big deal because they sent you home. They send you home, it's a big deal. If it bothered you that much, let's talk about it prior to minicamp. And so that concerns me that you held on to that for that long. And Josh isn't a punk. You're not just going to run him over. And so
he's been in this league for 8-9 years. He's been good the whole time.
Josh's personality is they need each other. When I think of the Buffalo Bills, I think of two players, Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. That's what I think about. So when you're the two best players on offense, for sure, you guys got to come to this agreement or understanding of what's expected of each other. We're not going to disrespect each other. We can't have these type of disagreements where everybody knows. We can disagree, you and I, privately, but I don't want everybody to see this. And so if Stefon is that guy, the Randy Moss, he got to be careful, because in a couple years, nobody's going to want to deal with him.
Yeah.
He can be really good. Nobody's going to want to deal with him because they don't want him in the quarterback's ear feeling like, I got to get the ball. We all want the ball. And people that may be listening to this, I was like that. Like, there's times you're pissed off, you want the ball, but 6 months later, nah, I'm going to handle that prior to.
Yeah. So the running back situation, I said, the league does a really good job to constantly evolve to protect the players physically, but they don't always protect you guys economically. And the reality is safeties, linebackers, and running backs aren't as valuable today as 10 years ago. And the league's like, listen, we'll limit hitting. We'll limit hits. We'll make it safer. But we're not going to guarantee all you're going to make the money. Economies change. And so, like, I look at Saquon Barkley, he's got value, but I wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal. And I think he's great. You're in the locker room with guys. Safeties now. Off-ball linebackers. Guards. They're not getting paid.
It sucks for them, specifically Saquon, because he is the offense.
Yeah.
He's the offense. So if I'm Saquon, I'm like, really? And you hate to do this. You really hate to do this, but you say to yourself and others that you're really cool with, they really just gave Daniel Jones
I get it.
And I'm getting
I get it.
Like you say that amongst each other, like you can't believe it. But it's a business. And you're gonna pay what you can pay. If it's this price, then Daniel Jones' price was this. They had to pay it. Saquon Barkley's price isn't. Nobody's going to pay more than they're required to pay.
That's right.
And if Saquon was the GM and the owner, he would do the same thing. It sucks for them, but this is just what it is right now for the running backs. It sucks.
Also, since he's been in the league, he is the third highest paid running back after Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. So I could argue he's been paid commensurate to his production. He should be the third highest paid, fourth highest paid running back in the league. He had an injury year. He had an average year. He had a great year, very good last year. One more question. I want to pivot to the Netflix documentary Quarterback. All the guys are likable. All of them look great. But I am struck with Mahomes' ability to balance his brother, a newborn, the pressure, Andy Reid, the media, the scrutiny. And I was saying 1 of 14 teams on Hard Knocks have won a playoff game. 1 of 5 teams on the Amazon series has won a playoff game. So 2 of 19. Cameras are not good for you in the NFL. And he wins a Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, he had 9 rookies on the team. There is something about Mahomes, and I don't remember your first interactions with him. When I watched the Netflix series, his ability to compartmentalize, to his they call it IQ and EQ, his emotional quotient. He got a lot of stuff moving around him, like a lot of stuff. And he just seamlessly works his way through it. It's kind of remarkable to me. Do you remember the first time you met him, saw him, noticed him?
Mahomes is a cool dude. I actually met Mahomes at the Deontay Wilder-Tyson Fury fight in Vegas.
I was there.
Yeah, that's where I met him at.
That's where I saw him.
Him and Kelsey, this is the thing about guys like Mahomes, he probably doesn't even have stress because nothing bothers him. So him filming this, it's nothing for him. It's just a camera around. He's Mike. It's nothing because he's not going to let this camera change what he says, how he plays, how he goes about his business. He's just not going to do it. It doesn't bother him. And there's just certain players that, and just people in general, things just don't bother them. It's kind of water off a duck's back. Oh, well, it is what it is type of thing.
Yeah.
And he plays that way. He plays very free.
He doesn't need control. Brady wanted control. Even his documentary. Peyton Manning would tell you he wanted control. A lot of athletes do. They have a schedule. They have a habit. They want control. He has the ability to not control stuff, and it looks frenetic and loose, and he's yet totally under control. He's kind of throw whatever you got to throw at me.
He may want to say things, but if it's working, I don't need to say anything. If things are going the way they should go, I don't need to have a say in anything.
Like Kirk Cousins, by the way, when you watch him, very meticulous, almost obsessed, wants control.
Hey, Colin, I like Kirk Cousins now.
So, I do too.
That show, I'm like, Kirk Cousins is cool. Like, he just seems like a down-to-earth type of dude. Like, that show made me, and I didn't dislike him.
I'm the same way.
It just made me like him.
I'm the same way. All right, let me see. I got one more question for you. What do you make of Sean Payton kind of ripping? I thought it was great.
I liked it, yeah. You just never see it.
Ever.
You don't see a coach come out and do that to another coach, but Sean just said what a lot of people were thinking. Now, it does put a little pressure on Russell to come out here and play because you're basically saying, like, Russell can still play, and this dude make Russell look like he was terrible.
Right.
And if Russell Wilson, we know Sean Payton can coach. That's no question. But if Russell Wilson plays well, they need to get Hackett out the league because everybody knows this, I've played on 4 teams. And I was consistently with the Bengals, and you go team. There's really a lot of bad coaches in the NFL. And guys that go from team to team towards the end, you start to see that, like, this dude is trash. He knows nothing.
Hey, I talk to executives. There are scouts in this league that you rely on, and you get players in, and they can't play the camp. They can't play at all.
But guess what's going to happen? The Jets are going to be pretty good this year. That's going to be all Aaron Rodgers and his defense and Salah. It's not going to be Hackett, but Hackett's going to kind of get let off the hook.
Yeah.
Because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Good seeing you, my man.
Appreciate it.
TJ Houshmandzadeh. Are you on speak after this?
Yes, sir.
You know who yesterday I'm driving down the road, and a car pulls up, and a window goes down right in the middle of traffic, and he looks over at me. It was Shady.
Shady.
He said, what's up? I'm like, you're in traffic. You can't stop in traffic.
He don't care. Shady a great dude, man.
He's a great dude.
Yeah, he is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.